When you find yourself pleading for someone's attention, it's like you're handing over your worth, saying that their approval holds more weight than your own self-respect. But the reality is, when you keep asking for someone's time or affection, you gradually lose a part of yourself. Think about it. Relationships should lift you up, bring positivity to your life, not chip away at your self-esteem. When you constantly seek someone's attention, you set up a pattern where you're always the one waiting, always hoping for that next call, that next message. Picture this. You're sitting by your phone, staring at the screen, willing it to light up with a message from them. Maybe you even send a few texts just to keep the conversation alive, to make sure they don't forget you. But what happens in those moments? You're placing your happiness and self-worth in their hands, and let's be honest, that's a risky place to leave it. You're giving them the power to decide whether or not you feel important, whether or not you feel seen, and every time you don't get the response you were hoping for, you feel a little smaller, a little less significant. But here's the truth. You were always enough. Your worth was never dependent on someone else's recognition. Now, let's flip this perspective. Think about someone who truly makes you feel noticed, someone who genuinely appreciates your presence. They don't leave you waiting for hours, they don't make you question yourself, and they don't take your time for granted. How does that feel? You feel valued, appreciated, acknowledged. That's exactly how relationships should feel. When you find yourself seeking attention, you end up accepting mere fragments of effort when you actually deserve the full experience of love and appreciation. You deserve someone who is just as eager to hear from you as you are from them. Breaking away from the need for validation is tough, especially when you care deeply about someone, but there is real power in stepping back. There is strength in recognizing your own worth and deciding that you won't beg for something that should be given freely. This isn't about playing games or acting indifferent. It's about understanding that relationships shouldn't feel one-sided, where you're the only one making the effort, the only one reaching out, the only one trying to keep things going. Ask yourself, are you constantly bending over backward for someone who barely reciprocates? Are you always putting their needs ahead of yours? If the answer is yes, then it's time to redirect that energy. Instead of investing all of your emotional strength into someone who doesn't value it, turn that energy towards your own growth, your own happiness, your own self-worth. The right people will make time for you without you having to beg. The right people will value your presence, your efforts, and your heart without you having to chase after them. And here's the most powerful truth. When you stop pleading for attention, when you start valuing yourself enough to step away from those who don't see your worth, you open up space for the people who genuinely do. So let this be a reminder. Don't settle for the scraps of someone's time. Don't sit around waiting for them to decide if you are important enough. Decide that for yourself. Take back your power and remind yourself every single day that you are worthy of love and respect without having to plead for it. When you truly value yourself, you set the tone for how others will treat you, and that is where your real strength lies. Chasing after someone's affection might seem like the natural thing to do when you have deep feelings for them, but in reality, it's a dangerous path. The moment you start chasing, you tip the balance. Suddenly, the relationship feels like a pursuit, a game where you're constantly trying to prove yourself, trying to earn their time, their love, their attention. And when you're always the one doing the chasing, you become emotionally drained, exhausted, and often left feeling like you're just not enough. Picture this. You're always the one making plans, always the one initiating conversations, always ensuring that the relationship stays alive. Maybe you convince yourself that if you just try a little harder, if you put in more effort, they'll finally realize your worth. But the truth is, if someone genuinely values you, you won't have to chase them. Real love, real respect, and real connection don't require a constant struggle. They don't make you feel like you're running a race with no finish line. Chasing someone isn't just about what you do, it's about the energy you put out there. When you're always in pursuit, you're sending a message to both them and yourself that they are the prize and you have to earn their affection. But what about your worth? What about your value? A healthy relationship is about mutual effort, mutual investment. It's not about one person constantly reaching out while the other sits back, deciding when or if they'll return the favor. Think back to moments when you felt truly seen, truly valued. Those relationships, those connections didn't make you feel like you had to fight for affection. They felt natural, effortless. That's what you deserve. You deserve to be with someone who meets you halfway, who values your presence just as much as you value theirs. When you stop chasing, you create space for that kind of connection to find you. Stepping back from chasing isn't about giving up. It's about choosing yourself first. It's about recognizing that your energy, time, and heart should only be given to those who appreciate them. It's a way of setting a boundary, of saying, I am worthy of effort and I refuse to settle for less. When you find yourself constantly pursuing someone's attention, take a step back and ask, is this really what I want? Do I want to spend my time chasing someone who doesn't see my worth? The moment you stop chasing is the moment you take back your power. And it's the moment you realize you don't have to convince anyone of your value. Those who truly belong in your life will recognize it without you having to chase them. So today, let go of the chase. Let yourself be still. Know that you are enough, just as you are, without needing to prove it. Focus on the people who show up for you, who genuinely care, who make you feel important. The right people won't make you chase them. They will walk beside you, equally invested in the journey. Let your worth lead the way, and let go of anything that makes you feel like you have to run after it. Willing to listen and truly willing to invest the same energy that you bring to the table is important. Reaching out to someone repeatedly, especially when they don't reciprocate that energy, can make you feel like you're constantly seeking approval or validation. It's as if you're hoping that the next call will finally make them understand how much you care, that they'll finally answer and everything will magically align. But the reality is, when you find yourself always being the one to initiate, it starts to feel one-sided. It's like you're carrying the weight of the connection alone. And with each unanswered call, that weight becomes heavier. Picture this, you call and they don't pick up. So you call again, thinking maybe they're just caught up with something. You leave a voicemail or two and wait for a response. It takes hours, maybe even days. During that waiting period, you start feeling anxious, wondering if you did something wrong, if you should try again. Each time, your self-worth takes a little hit, as if their lack of response is somehow a reflection of your value. But the truth is, it's not about you. It's about what they're willing to contribute to the relationship. Think about what it would feel like if the roles were reversed. If they were the ones always reaching out, always calling, always trying to keep the connection alive. How would you feel? A healthy relationship requires effort from both sides. It's not about one person making all the calls while the other decides when or if they want to respond. It's about meeting in the middle, wanting to hear each other's voice, staying connected because both of you are equally invested. When you realize you're the only one making the effort to reach out first, it's time to take a step back and evaluate what you truly deserve. You deserve someone who wants to hear from you just as much as you want to hear from them. You deserve someone who isn't playing games with your time or emotions, but is genuinely invested in building the connection with you. And when you stop calling, when you give them the space to reach out to you, you'll see where they truly stand. Pulling back from always being the one to initiate isn't about playing hard to get. It's about valuing your own time and energy. It's about recognizing that your effort is valuable and shouldn't be wasted on someone who doesn't appreciate it. When you stop calling, you create space for the other person to show their interest, to take the initiative, and in that space you find clarity. You see who is willing to put in the same energy that you have been giving. Yes, it might feel uncomfortable at first. There might be a sense of loss, of missing that connection. But remember, true connections don't require one person to always be the chaser. Real relationships are built on a mutual desire to stay in touch, to be there for each other, without one person constantly reaching out while the other sits back. So let your silence on the phone speak for itself. Let it be a statement that says, I know my worth, and I won't keep chasing something that's not being reciprocated. If they care, if they value you, they will reach out. And if they don't, then you've saved yourself the time and energy for people who will. Remember, you're not asking for too much when you want to be valued. You're just asking the right person to recognize what you bring to the table. And that's something you should never apologize for. When you find yourself constantly making excuses for someone, it's a sign that you're overlooking your own needs and allowing behaviors that might not be in your best interest. It's easy to get caught up in justifying their actions, telling yourself that they're just busy, that they didn't mean to hurt you, or that things will change eventually. But deep down, you know that those excuses aren't fixing the problem. They're just delaying the inevitable, hoping that things will get better on their own. It's crucial to recognize when you're doing this, because making excuses becomes a way of settling for less than you deserve. Maybe they don't treat you with the respect you expect. Maybe they don't prioritize you in their life. But instead of facing those realities, you find yourself coming up with reasons for their behavior. You tell yourself they'll come around, that they're just going through a rough time, that maybe you're asking for too much. But the truth is, you're not asking for too much when you expect to be treated with respect and kindness. Think about a time when you made an excuse for someone's behavior. Maybe they canceled plans at the last minute for the third time in a row, and you told yourself they were probably just swamped with work. Or perhaps they spoke to you in a way that hurt your feelings, and you convinced yourself they didn't really mean it like that. Every time you do this, you're teaching yourself to accept less than what you deserve. You're telling yourself that their needs, their time, and their feelings matter more than yours. But making excuses doesn't change their behavior. It only prolongs your own disappointment. You end up carrying the weight of the relationship, bending over backward to make things work while they continue on, indifferent or unaware. It's like trying to patch up a leak with tape, hoping that it will hold, even though deep down you know it's only a temporary fix. The real work, the real growth, comes from being honest with yourself about what you're experiencing and what you truly want. Imagine what it would feel like if you stopped making excuses and started setting boundaries. If you could look at their actions without trying to rationalize them, you'd see the situation for what it really is. You'd see whether they are truly invested in the relationship or if they are simply taking advantage of your patience. And in that moment, you take back your power. You stop waiting for things to change and start making choices that serve your well-being. It's not easy, especially when you care about someone. You don't want to believe that they might not care as much as you do. But facing the truth allows you to make decisions that are best for you. It allows you to say, I deserve more than just excuses. I deserve effort. It's not about holding a grudge or cutting people off. It's about valuing yourself enough to walk away from anything that isn't helping you grow. So let go of the need to justify their actions. Let go of the habit of making excuses for behavior that doesn't align with your values. Instead, focus on what you need, on what makes you feel respected and valued. If they're meant to be in your life, they will step up without you having to make excuses for them. And if they don't, then you're creating space for better, more fulfilling connections to enter your life. You deserve to be surrounded by people who show up for you, not because you ask them to, but because they truly want to. Choose relationships that don't require you to exhaust yourself just to feel valued. When you make this shift, you will see that the people who truly care about you will match your energy, your effort, and your love. That is when you will realize you have found something worth holding on to, a relationship where both giving and receiving are in harmony. Chasing after someone in a relationship can feel like running in a race you will never win. When you are the one always making the calls, sending the texts, and seeking their attention, it creates an imbalance that is not only draining, but also emotionally taxing. More than that, it places you in a position where you are constantly seeking validation from someone who may never truly appreciate you. But deep inside, you deserve more than this one-sided effort. You deserve to be wanted and valued without having to constantly chase it. Think about what happens when you chase something. You become so focused on the pursuit that you start losing sight of yourself. You begin to forget your own worth, and the harder you chase, the more distant it all seems. That is because genuine connection, real love, isn't something you have to chase. It is something that is met halfway, with both people moving toward each other because they genuinely want to. If you are the only one running, you are not in a partnership. You are in pursuit. Chasing creates a cycle of self-doubt, and you may find yourself wondering why they don't reach out first, why they don't seem as engaged, why they aren't putting in the same effort. In trying to prove your worth to them, you compromise your own peace. You start accepting less than what you deserve, thinking that if you just try harder, give more, or chase longer, things will change. But relationships don't work that way. They should not feel like you are always trying to catch up or earn someone's time. The truth is, people who are truly interested in you don't need to be chased. They will make time for you because they genuinely want to. They will show their feelings through actions, not just words. They won't leave you waiting for a reply that never comes. And they won't make you guess whether they care. They will be present because they want to be, not because you are trying to pull them closer. And that difference is everything. It is the difference between feeling like you must work for someone's affection and knowing you are worthy of love simply by being yourself. Ask yourself, why are you chasing? Are you trying to fill an emotional void? Are you afraid of being alone? Sometimes the fear of being by yourself can push you to settle for less than you deserve just to feel a connection. But being alone does not mean being lonely. It can be a time to reconnect with yourself, to understand your own needs, and to rebuild your inner strength. When you stop chasing, you create space for the right kind of love to find you. Love that is mutual, effortless, and real. It is not easy to break the habit of chasing, especially if you've been doing it for a long time. It requires a change in perspective, a conscious choice to prioritize your own peace over the uncertainty of someone else's feelings. It means letting go of the hope that if you just try harder, they will turn around. And it means accepting the possibility that they might not. But in that space, you allow room for the right person to enter your life. Someone who will walk beside you, not ahead of you. This shift is about choosing to believe in your own worth, understanding that you deserve to be valued without having to prove yourself. It is about trusting that you are enough, even if someone else fails to see it. And it is about having the strength to walk away from anything that makes you feel like you are constantly chasing. Deep down, you know you deserve to be met with the same energy and effort that you are willing to give. Imagine being in a relationship where you don't have to chase, where you never have to question whether they care because their actions make it clear. A relationship where you both show up for each other without pressure or pretense. That is what you make room for when you stop chasing. An opportunity for something real, something balanced, something that feels like home. If you find yourself chasing, take a pause, step back, let go of the need to prove your worth to someone who is not ready to see it. Redirect that energy into yourself, into becoming the person you want to attract. When you do, you will find that the right people, the ones who recognize your value from the start, will step forward without needing to be chased. You will come to see that true love does not require you to run after it. It simply finds you when you are ready to receive it. And in that moment, you will know that the waiting, the space, and the time you took for yourself was all worth it. It is natural to want to share your life with someone, to tell them your thoughts, your dreams, your experiences. But there is a fine line between sharing and oversharing. Revealing too much too soon can create an imbalance, making you seem overly eager, too open, or even desperate for connection. This vulnerability can sometimes be taken advantage of, leaving you feeling exposed and unappreciated. When you reveal everything at once, where is the sense of curiosity? Where is the opportunity for the other person to slowly discover who you are? Relationships thrive when they unfold naturally, when both individuals learn about each other over time. This gradual process keeps things exciting and allows you to see if the other person is genuinely interested in you beyond the surface level. There is strength in holding back a little, in keeping certain aspects of your life private until trust has been established. It is not about playing games, but about protecting your emotional well-being. Not everyone who enters your life has your best interests at heart. Some may misuse your openness, while others may fail to appreciate the depth of what you share. This is why it is crucial to build trust first and ensure that the other person values and respects you before revealing your most personal thoughts. By controlling when and how much you share, you set boundaries that shield you from unnecessary hurt. This does not mean you should become emotionally distant or guarded. Instead, it is about pacing yourself, allowing someone in gradually as they prove themselves worthy of your trust. The right person will never rush you. They will understand that the most valuable things take time to unfold. And when you hold on to that belief, you ensure that your story is shared with someone who truly deserves to hear it.